Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Sallallahu ala habibihi Sayyidina Muhammadi wa alihi wa sallam. Verily, all praise is for Allah. We praise Him, we seek His assistance, and we ask for His forgiveness. And we seek refuge in Him from the evils of ourselves. Whoever He guides, none can misguide, and whoever He misguides, none can guide. And I bear witness that there is no God other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His messenger. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, today I want to talk about the topic of seeking knowledge from reputable and authentic sources, and the respect that we must have for the companions of our Rasulullah alayhi wasallam. Firstly, it is important to understand that in our journey to learn and understand Islam, we must seek knowledge from the right sources. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran in Surah Al-Hujurat, He says, "O you who have believed, if there comes to you a disobedient man with one information, investigate, lest you harm a people out of ignorance and become over what you have done regretful." So what is this verse saying? This verse is saying and reminds us to verify the information we receive and to make sure that we are learning from trustworthy and knowledgeable scholars. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also emphasizes the importance of seeking knowledge from credible sources. Our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Whoever follows a path in the pursuit of knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a path to paradise easy for him." To ensure that we are on the correct path, it is important to learn from scholars who are known for their piety, their knowledge, and their adherence to the Quran and the Sunnah. These scholars dedicate their entire lives to understanding and teaching Islam, and they are our best guides in this journey. Especially in modern society, a lot of people, they get Quran verses and hadiths and they take it out of context. And this is something that we should not follow. The Quran verse that I mentioned from Surah Al-Hujurat means that you cannot just trust anything you see. You must do your own research so that you must be well informed and that you can make the right choice before spreading false information. And I want to mention this. If you follow madhab, for example, Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu, it is important to seek guidance from the scholars who share and represent his teachings. Similarly, those who follow the madhab of Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, or Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal radiallahu anhu should adhere to the scholars that also teach their teachings. This ensures that the knowledge you receive is consistent with the principles established by the Imam. And one of the most important things is that you cannot pick and choose teachings from different madhabs. You must choose one main scholar and you must follow all of their teachings. Now, I want to share you a beautiful story of the life the life of our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, he was once a fierce opponent of Islam. And then he became one of the Khalifa of Islam and made Islam a major religion. He spread Islam so much. So one day, Umar radiallahu anhu, he was really mad. His uncle was disrespected and he wanted to go kill the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But a man on his path, he re-guided him. He said that your sister and her husband have accepted Islam. And so he went to their house and he barged open his sister's door and he started beating his sister. And his sister started bleeding. And Umar radiallahu anhu, something in his mind changed. And he asked his sister, "What were you doing?" And she answered, "We were reading verses from the Quran." And then Umar radiallahu anhu, he also started reading the verses, and these were the verses of Surah Tawbah. And when he started reading the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he broke down in tears and his heart softened. And right after reading the few verses of Surah Taha, he said, "Bring me to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." And he converted to Islam right then and there. This story shows us the transformative power of the Quran and the authentic knowledge. Before, in society, everyone was spreading false knowledge, and he was basing his opinions off this false knowledge. But as soon as he read the authentic Quran, the ultimate words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his heart softened and he accepted Islam. The Quran is the ultimate source of knowledge, and it changed the heart of one of the fiercest opponents of Islam. So similarly, we must seek out authentic sources to guide us on the right path. We must now also respect and always respect the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The companions, also known as Sahaba, were the closest to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they played a vital role in preserving and spreading Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises them in the Quran in Surah Al-Tawbah. He says, "And the first forerunners in the faith among the Muhajirin and the Ansar were those who followed them with good conduct. Allah is pleased with them," referring to the Sahaba, "and they are pleased with Him. And He has prepared for them gardens beneath which rivers flow, wherein they will abide forever. That is the great attainment." The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he further emphasized this point. He said, "My companions are like stars. If you follow any one of them, you will be guided to the right path." Now here is another story from the Sahaba that teaches us about their wisdom and their dedication to Islam. This story is of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu and the compilation of the Quran. So after the battle of Yamama, there were a bunch of Quran Hafiz, the memorizers of the Quran, who were martyred. And Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anhu approached Abu Bakr Siddiq, who was the Khalif at the time, and he suggested compiling the Quran into one single book. Initially, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, he said, "How can we do something which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not do himself?" But after much consideration, he agreed to it. And they entrusted Zayd ibn Thabit, may Allah be pleased with him, with the task. Zayd radiyallahu anhu was known for his exceptional memory and honesty, and he undertook this big task. And so they compiled the Quran into one sequence book, and this is the same Quran that we read to this day, which has remained unchanged. And this story highlights the wisdom and the foresight of the Sahaba and their deep commitment to preserving the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Disrespecting or questioning the integrity of the Sahaba is a grave mistake. They were chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the companions of the final messenger, Rasulullah alayhi wasallam, and their lives and sacrifices are an example for us to follow, and we must honor them and learn from their actions and words. Now I'd like to share with you this very important story. Now there were these people, at their time of death, they were yelling, "Fire, fire." And the people were telling them, "You must recite the kalma before they die." And they answered, "We cannot recite the kalima." And why was this? This was because they were influenced by a group of people who used to talk poorly and speak ill of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu and Umar radiyallahu anhu. Astaghfirullah. And Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, he reported, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Do not insult my companions. If one of you were to spend the likes of Mount Uhud in gold, which is so much gold we cannot even comprehend, it would not reach a small portion of theirs or even half of that." These two stories highlight the high regard the Sahaba are held to, and that they should never be talked about or even thought of poorly. And to emphasize this, I'd like to finish by saying, those who have love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will love Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and those who love Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam will definitely love the Sahaba. And the converse is also true. If the person does not love any of the Sahaba or talks poorly of them, then they do not really love Rasulullah alayhi wasallam, and thus they do not love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And since the Sahaba are the greatest of the awliya, which are the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever has disliked or talked poorly of the Sahaba actually declares war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why, my brothers and sisters, we can never talk poorly or even think poorly of the Sahaba. We should hold them in the highest regard. Like our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "They are like stars, and if you follow any one of the Sahaba, you will be guided to the straight path." Let us commit to seeking knowledge from authentic and reliable sources, and let us hold the Sahaba in the highest regard. By doing so, we are not only preserving our faith, but also we are ensuring our path to success in this life and the akhirah, the hereafter. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the wisdom to seek knowledge from the right sources and the humility to respect the Sahaba. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please perform